Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ryan Suter. I'm one of the senior investment managers here at Sharewise, and we're here this afternoon with Jason Froud. Now, Jason's been kind enough to lend us his expertise and time regarding Premier1 Lithium, as he's the managing director. So, as always, we're going to start this one off with a presentation from Jason, and then we're going to open the floor up to a Q&A. I've got a couple of questions this afternoon to kick us off with, and then obviously I'll pass it over to you, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions you'd like me to ask Jason, please submit them to the Q&A function on Zoom, and then I will ask away. Jason, thanks again for your time, mate. She's all yours.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me and the opportunity to present here. I will bring up the screen. Okay, so you can see the presentation now, can you?
Sure can.
Okay, good. So this is a presentation that we posted on the website and on the ASX platform fairly recently. I've removed a couple of slides for timeliness, but the full presentation is online. So just a normal disclaimer here and forward-looking statements. So I encourage you to read them after the presentation. It's a quick overview of the company and where we are at the moment. So we started, I guess, as a pure explorer earlier this year after a demerger from Sensor. And then essentially we went through a complete reset of the company in June and July with a new board management. And at that point, we commenced a review of the company. So in the pipeline of projects that we've got, I think there are a number of exciting exploration projects there. Yalgoo is our most advanced project, and we're going through the heritage clearance process there at the moment with a view to drilling next year. Yalgoo is really a project that's been lost in time. And within the portfolio, we've also got gold exposure at both Abbots and Mount Magnet North, and we retain some really good lithium potential at our Montague project. Upcoming catalysts for the company, the team has just come back from site and they've completed their first stage of mapping and surface sampling up there, and these samples are about to go off to the lab, and I'm confident that we'll see some good results coming out of that. From there, through the heritage clearance program, and then into drilling probably early next year at this stage with the heritage requirements in place. Excuse me. We've got a new and very experienced team in place. This is from a new chair, Hugh, myself, and we've also got a complete team in place from Paul, my exploration manager, through to a team of geologists and support staff. So we're not at all reliant on contractors. We're geared to explore completely internally within the company. We have continued and strong backing from our major shareholder, which is Deutsche Rostov, and that's both financial and technical backing from them. The company demerged as a lithium company, and the gold potential in our portfolio has been almost completely overlooked up until this point. I think this gold exposure here can provide some real momentum for us. But importantly, we're not walking away from lithium. I'm very optimistic longer term about the lithium market, but I think we can use the momentum from gold to capitalise on this weaker lithium market going forward. Importantly, we're not wedded to any projects. We're in the business of testing the project, and if they don't meet our internal criteria, we'll move on. So just a quick corporate snapshot, a brief company background. Look, there's no doubt the company has been has had a tough run over from demerger. Current share price is around 1.1 cent, so our market cap is sub $2 million. Given the exposure that we've got to gold and the lithium projects here, I do think there's a lot of upside that we can get out of the company going forward. So getting into the particular projects now, our main project of focus at the moment is the Yalgoo project, and this covers about 220 square kilometres of the Yalgoo Singleton Greenstone belt. This belt is host to some major mines in the area. We've got Deflector, which is about 50 or 60 kilometres as a crow flies, and there's a sealed road from Yalgoo right to the front gate of Deflector, about 60-kilometre drive from Yalgoo. A lot of the focus on the company recently at Yalgoo has been up in the northern end of the project area, but we do have 25 kilometres of prospective strike along that Mullo shear zone. The area has been previously drilled, but it's very, very shallow. We've got good infrastructure in the area. We're only 200 kilometres from Geraldton, and you've got proximity of gold and copper processing plants in the area as well. So what we see at Yalgoo, in the north, there's quite a number of old workings in and around this area. These are circa 1900s vintage, and some of these are quite deep. There's also been quite a lot of more recent work, prospecting and dry blowing in the area. And what you'll see on the next slide is that the area has been quite densely drilled, but this is very, very localised in and around these old workings. The mineralising structures away from these workings are almost completely untested. So I think we have very good discovery potential below the known mineralisation. But what is exciting here for me is where we have no information at all. These are the cross-cutting structures, the northeast structures that have been very, very sparsely tested. So our next steps here are to get a good understanding of these structures, this lithostructural setting through mapping, and then some detailed geophysics, and then go and test these structures. So if we zoom into this northern area of the tenement, this is where our most obvious targets are. But as I said, the Mullo shear zone continues for another 25 kilometres to the south. So just looking at the map here, and I'll stress the dots on this map are the collar positions of all the drilling that has been completed in this area. So this was mostly in the 1980s and 1990s, and you'll see that the holes are coloured by max grade down hole, and almost every hole in this area has hit grade. So one of the areas that I'm particularly excited about is the Carlisle area there. There's only 3 drill holes there at Carlisle. One of those hits 17 metres at 1.4 grams per tonne gold. And there's a northwest trending structure here from Carlisle that continues all the way down to Broken Mount, about 500 or 600 metres to the southeast. And that structure also continues on to the northwest. These appear to be the main mineralising structures in the area, and this whole area has essentially never been drilled. The Consuelo project is located sort of just in this area here with a large amount of disturbance, and again, extensive mineralisation through there, but very, very little drilling or next to no drilling in this area. So I think there's very, very good potential for economic gold mineralisation in this area. We're also starting to pull information out of the historic soil sampling through the area, and this is showing some very, very interesting targets included in the conglomerates and the sediments, and this mineralisation style is completely untested. So here we just have some examples of the prospect mineralisation and the intercepts that we're seeing in the area. For the team here, it's taken quite an effort to compile a lot of this historical information and the surface sampling data, and also to get comfort around the exploration potential that we have here. What we see in the long section is this potential for a southerly plunge of the mineralisation, which is coming into our ground from Spartan's tenure in the north. On the previous slide, there was a historical mineral estimate, which was compiled in the 1990s. But the depth extent of this is completely untested, and that historical estimate was only tested, or it was only estimated down to 40 metres of depth. So for Yalgoo, I think there are a lot of really easy targets there for us to test, and it's a project that's been overlooked for a long period of time, but it presents some really, really exciting gold potential there. So outside of Yalgoo, which is our main focus, there's a couple of other earlier stage projects that the company has an interest in. So we picked up Abbott's North, and this was picked up initially for its lithium potential. The company drilled Abbott's North earlier in the year, and the results for the lithium weren't particularly inspiring. But the project itself is immediately along strike from Ora Gold and their Garden Gully Crown Prince project. So what we're seeing here is essentially the same lithostructural setting, very, very similar geology, but there's been very, very little exploration for gold through this area. It's at an early stage of assessment for gold for us, but yeah, there's been almost no historical exploration here for gold. We have very, very similar splays coming off the Abernathy Shear, which is what's hosting the mineralisation at Crown Prince, and a similar lithostructural setting. Like I said, it's early days here at Abbott's North, but we'll look to complete a geochemical sampling program here in Q1 or Q2 of next calendar year. Outside of Abbott's North, we've also got some tenure north of Mount Magnet. So this project is approximately 20 kilometres.
Sorry to interrupt you, mate. I think the slides might be frozen.
Okay, sorry.
So we're currently looking at page 9.
Page 9. Okay. You can still hear me fine though, can you?
Yep, I'm still here. I think your camera might be frozen as well.
Okay. I'll just stop the share here for a second. Let me see if I can get back into that. Okay, are you seeing Mount Magnet North there, Ryan?
Just loading in now.
Okay, I do apologise. Technology here.
That's all right.
We're still struggling, Ryan?
Still struggling, unfortunately.
Okay. Might be best just to press on. I'll try and paint the picture without slides as best as possible.
The slides are online, so
yeah, absolutely. Slides are online. So this is the
follow along.
The Mount Magnet North slide. So is it best if we just stop the share and then you can see me speaking, perhaps?
Yes, yeah, that'd be best.
Right. Okay. So there we go. All right, do apologise. So at Mount Magnet,
Your camera
this is
hasn't
about
loaded
20.
either, unfortunately. I think you just got a bit of dodging internet connection at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
Just hear you, but that's all right. We can still hear you.
All right. Okay, so Mount Magnet North is about 20 kilometres north of Ramelius's Checker Mill. The Great Northern Highway is about 1 kilometre off the tenement. Sensor drilled some holes here a couple of years ago and had some very encouraging gold results. This sort of includes 8 metres at 2 grams per tonne and I think 14 at 1.5. At this stage, we haven't put too much focus into Mount Magnet North, but it's a nice project to have in the background, and we'll reassess this project in the next month or two. So, in terms of next steps for the company, as I said, the team have literally just got back from Yaogu, and they've completed geological mapping and quite a comprehensive surface sampling and geochemical soil sampling program through the area. These samples will go into the lab early next week, and we'll start to get some turnaround from the lab in due course for these samples that have just gone in. Concurrently, we are commencing heritage clearance programs to get drill rigs onto site at Yaogu. Over the next couple of months, what we'll plan to do is we'll get some close-based geophysical surveying completed, and this will be critical to understand the lithostructural setting for the mineralisation and start to better target where these drill holes will go within the Yaogu project. From there, we'll be looking to get on the ground with the drill rig early next year, with probably a circa 3,000 metre program. And then subject to results there, a second phase project or a second phase drilling program to be completed at Yaogu. So, without the benefit of the slides there, that pretty much brings us to the tail end of the presentation.
That's all right, Jason. Really appreciate that one, mate. I know that the technical difficulties might have messed with you a little bit, but it was really good to get a solid insight about the new directions of the company. So obviously, I've got a couple of questions here to start us off with. We've already had a couple of questions submitted through the Q&A. I'd like to remind you again, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like me to ask Jason any questions, please just submit them to the Q&A function. Now, obviously, Jason, just to kick us off, the Yaogu project obviously located near some significant deposits and pre-existing mining operations, like you mentioned, obviously Deflector and Golden Grove. How does the geology of Yaogu compare, and what sort of potential do you guys see for similar high-grade discoveries?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So I think the potential for high-grade discovery is already there in the 1990s drilling, and 1980s drilling as well. There are some very, very significant results in there. I think there is potential for VMS deposits like Golden Grove to the south, but these are quite hard to explore for. I think most importantly, what we have though is an analogue very, very similar to the Deflector mine, which was Red 5, is now Vault Mining. So high grade gold plus or minus copper mineralisation.
Yeah. And
understanding these structural controls within the tenure will be critical. So we've also got some evidence of gold in the sediments that I alluded to and in the conglomerates. So this is more, I guess, an analogue to wallaby style deposits. This needs some further work, but will start to become more clear from the recent sampling that we've just done on site. Okay. I guess the clearest analogue there is that Deflector style mineralisation, which is what we're seeing in and around Wajingara.
Gotcha. All right, well, appreciate the insights on that front. Now, so you did tell us the team has just got back. You were recently out in the field out there. Can you just give us an insight into any of the key observations or developments throughout the site visit, and how realistically they could potentially influence your pre-existing exploration plans?
So the key observation here is really, defining or redefining the structural and lithological contacts and some of the discrepancies that are in the old mining. There is this strong northwest southeast control on the mineralisation, and we've taken a lot of structural orientations and we're building up on that mineralisation model now. It does seem like some, or possibly a lot, of the historical drilling was not optimal in its drilling location, and we've also seen some of the collar positions and collar and drill hole orientations. There's some discrepancies to what's actually recorded in the database to what we see in the field.
Okay.
So I think there's some opportunities there to better define that old mineralisation.
Yeah.
And then to build on this lithostructural information that we've got, and the controls on that mineralisation, and get in there with a well-targeted and well-defined drill program. Okay.
So obviously, with the targets you just said of, exploring the gaps in the, predetermined data set you guys already have, and really focusing on a core drilling program, what are the key factors that are going to guide this drilling program? And how are you guys going to prioritise your next targets based on obviously recent findings and then the pre-existing data sets?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, in the first instance, this is boots on the ground, and this has been happening in the last 2 weeks with some fairly comprehensive structural mapping up there.
Yep.
And I think probably building on that previous answer with those key observations there in defining those structural controls.
Okay.
That next step will be some close space geophysics, and that interpretation from there, and tracing those northwest structures through where we don't have the information and where we can target that drilling. But yeah, it's all about spending time in the field and building up on that mapping and the geological information that we have from there, and then targeting the drilling from that point.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that update. Now, obviously, just one last. Actually, no, I've got a couple more here. Now, okay. So, for investors, obviously, the share price currently isn't realistically ideal at the moment. What are some key milestones and catalysts that investors can look forward to in the coming months, particularly regarding the ongoing exploration you guys currently have, and then obviously some of the other projects in the portfolio?
So, absolutely. So, as I said, team has literally just got back from the field.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of surface rock chip samples, soil samples infilling where we didn't have information before, and quite a comprehensive program that we've just completed. These are going into the lab, and we'll get those results in due course. We do also have a very small program that we submitted a couple of weeks ago, some rock chip samples and some reassaying of lithium soil samples that we did previously.
Yeah.
And we're expecting those results back from the lab very, very soon. Given the look of some of those rock chip samples, I'm quite confident that we'll certainly see some good results out of those samples. That next step will be the close space geophysics and the lithostructural interp. Now, this might not get too many people other than the hardcore geologists excited, but this is a very critical part of that whole process, and being able to properly target the drill holes for that next process. But I think the key catalyst there will be the drilling next year. This is subject to heritage clearance, but we're quite confident that the heritage clearance process will go reasonably smoothly at this stage. We've kicked that off, and yeah, it's a process to go through. The area is very disturbed, so I'm confident we'll be able to get rigs on the ground early next year.
Oh, that's brilliant to hear. Now, just obviously on the topic with the heritage clearance, with further drilling that needs to be done, and further geological work, do you guys have a tighter timeline that you guys that you could potentially unveil to us today regarding the next 18 months for the company, or is it all kind of reliant on one another happening semi-simultaneously?
So obviously Yalgoo is the first priority there, and we will, we'll work through that process with that first drilling program next year. Outside of Yalgoo, we will move ahead with Abbots and Mount Magnet North, but these are much earlier stage for us at the moment. I do quite like the setting at Abbots. We just need to go through that process, compile the historical information, and then we'll probably be on the ground, as I said, doing a geochem soil program March, April next year.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for that update. Now, that finishes off my questions. We've got a couple more here submitted this afternoon. First one is, participant asked, when you say geophysics, are you talking about magnetics or gravity?
For Yalgoo, it will more than likely be close-space gravity that we will do. There is an existing magnetics reasonably close-space survey over the area, which has been subject to a confidentiality, so it hasn't been publicly released. We've just had, within the last day or two, we've just had confirmation that we can get that information out of confidentiality, so we'll reprocess that information. But the gravity in the area is quite wide-spaced, so there's no information really other than broad trends that we can pull out of the gravity. So that first pass will be close-space gravity survey.
Well, thank you for the update there. Now, another one here. Obviously, you got the question is: are you guys actively looking for new projects, or just focusing on the current ones you have now?
No, we're absolutely actively looking for new projects. I have had quite a number of opportunities that we've looked at internally that haven't met our criteria.
Okay.
I do have, a number more on my desk at the moment that we're going through, and that is across the board. So it is gold projects, but as I said before, we've got the Montague lithium project, which I remain optimistic about, but we are also looking to, once we can build some momentum off the back of gold, we'll also look at lithium projects going forward as well. So at the moment, it is both gold and lithium, and we are internally, and our major shareholder is also quite focused on lithium projects and acting in a counter-cyclical manner there, and being able to pick up something at the moment which you possibly wouldn't be able to pick up in a bull lithium market.
All right, brilliant. Well, thank you for that update there. Now, just one last one to finish us off today. An attendee asked, being a new company, there appears to be a lot of risk. Is it possible to explain the demerger a little and what depth of experience the new company has to grow with the currently installed leadership personnel?
So, yeah, the company demerged from Sensor.
Yep.
And so Sensor was number one, a technology company. So they were using machine learning or artificial intelligence to identify, prospective exploration areas. As a parallel work stream to that, they also had their own exploration tenure.
Yep.
So in January of this year, the company demerged. The technology side of the company went into an unlisted entity,
yep.
And the exploration assets stayed within the listed entity and became Premier1 Lithium. So in June and July this year, there was essentially a complete reset of the company. So we had a new chair. I started as managing director. I've also appointed a new exploration manager, which is Paul Smith. So he's come from Azure. Both Paul and myself have a very strong lithium background. Hence the focus that or the ongoing focus that we have on lithium, but also, a parallel focus on gold, given the, I guess, the excitement in the current market for gold as well at the moment.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of risk, we are a junior explorer, and that obviously comes with, exploration risk, funding risk, and all of those other risks that come with junior explorers. But I guess counter to that, we've got a very, very strong team in place between Hugh, the chair, who comes from an investment background, the financial and technical backing of Deutsche Rostov and their continued support, as well as, I guess, the technical background of myself and Paul Smith, the exploration manager, who's been brilliant out in the field. And, it's sort of his natural environment out there. He just loves being out in the bush.
Yeah. Brilliant. All right. Well, we've got a couple more that have come through. Next one is, how much input does the sensor tech have in finding the deposits?
Okay, so the sensor technology, so we've got the right to use that sensor technology that was developed up until demerger for lithium prospectivity.
Okay.
So we use that on a routine basis when we're looking for new prospect areas. Outside of that, whether we're looking for gold or other minerals, it's a commercial relationship between Sensor and ourselves. But I guess because of the history there, we've got a very, very good relationship with Sensor. We share an office with Sensor. There's a lot of expertise within the Sensor company. If we want to talk about, particular deposit models, those guys are there, and we can have a discussion, over a coffee or at any point in time.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the answer there. Now, I think hopefully one last one for today. No, we've got a couple more coming through. So, next one. Would you be looking at any projects outside of Australia, and will it only ever be hard rock regarding lithium?
So the first part there, hard rock lithium. It's unlikely that we would move into brines. Very unlikely we would move into other sources of lithium. Personally, I do like lithium brines, but the expertise within the company is around hard rock lithium. That's our core strength there. And moving into brines, would be very much a step into the unknown. Would we look into projects outside of Australia? Yes, but the criteria for us to transact on a project outside of Australia would be much higher to justify that risk. There's more costs, time zone issues, all those sorts of things. So yes, we would, but it would have to be exactly right, a Goldilocks project for us to move outside of Australia.
Okay, well, thank you for that one. Now, another one here. Obviously, an individual has noticed that the cash balance is getting low. Is a subsequent capital raise likely?
Yep. So we're a junior explorer. Same as every other junior explorer. We come raise every day of the week. As a board, we are very focused on the cash position of the company, and yes, we will at some point in the near future, we will be required to raise further funds to fund the exploration.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that one. That about wraps everything up. Now, Jason, before we finish off, is there anything you'd like to leave us with?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything across there. I think the main thing for us is, the company is Premier1 Lithium, and we are out exploring for gold at the moment. But I guess the takeaway message is that this is a parallel process for us. We are focused on lithium, but it would be remiss of us not to focus also on the gold potential that we have in the tenure, especially given where the market is for gold across the board at the moment.
Right, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time and expertise this afternoon, Jason. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Premier Lithium. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.